Whether you feel Apple has painstakingly crafted a bold and gorgeous new design language or grown at what feels like Apple copying Microsoft's homework from Windows Vista is a personal preference, and I think that conversation has been a distraction from the truly exciting things about iOS 26 that are actually super cool. So let's explore those together. So let's talk about the elephant in the room and get that out of the way because frankly I think this is like the most boring part about the update. Liquid glass. Hot take, who cares? I don't notice it. Yes, I notice it, obviously, but I mean, after you install it and you're trying things, you don't really think about it that much. It's a lot was made out of it, but it's really not that different. I think it's just that iOS visually has not changed fundamentally in such a long time that it feels like such a big overhaul. And they made such a big deal about it at WWDC about it being this big new revolutionary thing. But quite honestly, it's not that different. So the design is interesting. I don't hate it, but it feels kind of retro with all these bouncy animations and things like that. Yeah, it's you like it or you don't like it, or you probably won't even, if like me, you barely think about it most of the time. They fixed a lot of the transparency things that people were early on bothered with. It doesn't look that messy. And in fact, one of the really interesting things was I saw this picture early on that was going around the internet about the control center being too transparent and messy and ugly looking. But the thing is, my iPad, it's still on iPad OS 18, and yeah, the whole differences thing is the overrated conversation. So one difference that I did notice, the keyboard, it looks a little different and somehow it feels better. I can't really explain that part as well, but what I am seeing is if you go into iMessages or something like that, the buttons are a little more rounded. This doesn't seem to be consistent across every app yet. I'm guessing this is just a beta element as developers change things down the line. But if I go into Facebook Messenger, that sort of rounded edges are not there and it looks much more like it did in iOS 18. Now, I will say, again, probably a beta thing, but there are some animations and things sometimes that feel a bit sluggish when I'm switching just to test what the look of it is between sort of typical standard traditional icon look, dark or light, to a tinted glass or a light or dark glass look. The icons don't just change over like they do when you're switching from light to dark. They kind of take a minute to populate all the different icons. Understandable, it's making a lot of big complex changes, but it still feels and looks kind of clunky when it's doing that. Again, beta. The tinted light and dark is a nice touch. That's something we were missing in iOS 18 when you had sort of the tinted icons. I think it basically only did dark if I remember correctly, and it's nice to have both options. Unfortunately though, the tinted thing is just, it's so transparent to me that it makes the tinting so subtle that it's nearly pointless. If there's a lot going on in the photo, it's not great. In simple photos or backgrounds though, with fewer, more unified colors, the tinting looks a lot nicer. So I know it's going to sound like I'm complaining a lot, but I'm just giving you these in the order that I noticed these things, but there's actually a lot that I like. But one thing that I found this is a total personal preference, but I don't really like how the top bar on messages is gone and you have just this loading circle thing obscuring the things behind it. I know it's all part of this glass ethos to have things layered on things. It's just not really my jam. So I don't think this is an iOS 26 feature. I think this happens probably with most iOS updates if I remember correctly. But if you, like me, always want to turn off read receipts because nobody needs to know if I read your message or not, I will get to it when I get to it. It automatically toggled my read receipts back on. Could be a beta thing, could be just installing a new update, but you might want to go in and toggle that off. The light color icons look a little blurry to me, like the maps and Gmail and photos are really good examples, but they look fine in dark mode. And I think most people use dark mode. So if that's you, you're not really going to find an issue. If you watched my shortcuts video, again, link in the description, you might be curious if the update is working well with any of my shortcuts. So far, I've tested the My Baby is Being Cute shortcut where it pops up starts recording the video when I tell the personal assistant to start recording, or I double tap the back of my phone. It did glitch out when I hit the stop recording button. It changes to a stop button instead of a recording button, but it actually keeps recording and needs to be pressed an additional time to actually stop. CarPlay is a step up. Having the widgets on the first screen is nice, being able to see the weather, that kind of thing. Now, this might have been just the size of my screen, but I had the signal strength bar and the LTE indicator right next to each other, and I don't know why they didn't move those above and below. It's mashed together in CarPlay. Not very aesthetic. Overall, I actually was impressed going through here just how responsive and just sort of zippy that it feels on the same phone. This is an iPhone 13 mini. I do not have ProMotion on here, but it feels really snappy, and I like that. There were a couple apps, oddly enough, mostly first-party Apple apps that felt a little laggy, like maps. I was showing my wife when I was like pinching and like moving around the map, and it was laggy, and she could notice it too, and she is not like a big tech person. Like, it was obvious to her as well. Again, beta. I expect that to be something that they'll probably fix. The design has actually been growing on me, but ironically not so much the glass parts as everything else. Like, I kind of like this sort of bouncy retro Windows Aero Vista feel, but you know what? Personal opinions may vary. I like the fact that I can change backgrounds on text chats now. I used to always do that on Android back in the day on an app called Mood Messenger. It destroyed the battery, but it was just kind of fun in another deep customized way to make it feel like a personal conversation. I'd often have a picture that I associate with that person, maybe a picture of that person. Again, you can do this in WhatsApp and that kind of thing too, but if you're a big iMessage person, it's a cool feature to have. And like, I know that iPhone and this particular update has gotten a lot of bad rap about being like, every good new thing they came up with was either already a feature of Android or already a feature of WhatsApp that they just borrowed over. And I hear that, and I'm not going to argue that iPhone has somehow been the leader of this innovation, or the usual thing that I hear is like, well, you know, iPhone just waits till everybody else does it. They figure out how to iterate on it in a way where they do it better. And there's some truth to that, but I also feel like that's a lazy crutch that they lean on at times. It's nice that those features that we're talking about that maybe Android had for years, maybe WhatsApp had for years, it's nice that they're coming to the platform that the normal everyday person is using. Now, complex backgrounds in iMessages, like I said, with pictures of people and things like that, they don't look very good. That's not their fault. That's just the way the aesthetics look, that when you're putting balloons over top, it just doesn't look good. It didn't look good when I did it in Mood Messenger back in the day either. But simple patterns or colors or landscape features look nice. So another new addition, which is nice, is the Previews app. If you need to sign documents, things like that, this is going to be on the iPad as well. Now, I will say using Preview on an iPhone 13 mini, there was some cutoff of some of the tools. The picture I'm going to show you is not cropped. You can see that some of the markup tools are cut off. Like, I can't slide to left and right to grab those tools. I can still press them, but they're cut off. But I think that's just because the people using a mini like myself are pretty small segment, and so it's kind of an afterthought. I'm sure on most people's phones, this is going to look fine. The battery charging indicator, another thing that came from Android before, I recognize it, but it's very nice that it tells you how long it'll take till an 80% charge, if that's what your phone is set to stop at, or 100% charge. Switching mic inputs. I love this feature. What this allows someone like me to do is keep using my super cheap earbuds that sound fine. They're not going to blow you away, but they sound fine for what I mostly listen to, which is podcasts more than really like music. And you can get a lot of cheap earbuds for 20 bucks Canadian, and they will do a decent job. Where they are terrible is microphone quality, which has always been frustrating to me, because I'm like, my iPhone has an amazing microphone. And if I'm recording a WhatsApp message and listening back to what my friend said in his WhatsApp message while I'm on a walk, I don't need amazing quality in earbuds. I need good enough. But I do need a good quality microphone. I got a buddy where we go back and forth with these audio messages. I would have to turn off power down the Bluetooth earphones or disconnect the Bluetooth completely so that it didn't default to that when I was recording my audio message, and then put them back on to hear him. And it was just super annoying. Now I can set it so that it outputs to my earbuds but records in the internal microphone. Super amazing feature. Love, love that. If you do a lot of audio messages and you don't want to spend money on super expensive earbuds or headphones, this is a great option. I would upgrade iOS for this alone. Camera icon is changed, as many icons are subtly changed overall, but the camera button on the lock screen still looks like the old style, which is also similar to the old style icon. Now, I think the lock screen buttons and things like that are meant to be more sort of a for lack of a better description, charms icon kind of like simplistic representation of the more complex app icons that could exist without, where there are equivalents like that. I understand that sort of maybe philosophy about it, but I do think it is a bit inconsistent looking, so maybe they'll change that in the future. Overall, I actually really like it. It may sound like I have a few complaints, but I actually think it's a worthwhile upgrade, and I'm really excited to try the hold assist and the call assist features, because adulting, you got to call a lot of businesses and be put on hold. And that is a very useful feature, especially when you have a baby and you don't want to be playing this loud on hold music when you're trying to put a baby to sleep, but you need to have your phone on you in case they finally pick up. It's a whole thing. Parents will understand. That is a feature that is actually a beneficial life change thing. So anyways, there are some observations. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you enjoyed this kind of thing, like, subscribe for more. Until next time, peace.